Welcome back to the Tennessee Frugal Craftsman. I'm going to do a short video today on how to make what I would classify as big box store or just regular store grade 2x6 for your construction. Now obviously the construction here in eastern Tennessee, you still would have to have the lumber graded. But if you're in an area where you don't have to do that, then this is a plus. But I'm getting everything ready for a grader eventually. And I wanted to try to get some of my 2x6 sized up, to clear up some room here, so when I get the outbuilding built, I'll just stack it inside the outbuilding. And so I'll show you what the finished product is going to look like, and then we'll go through the whole procedure of doing it. All right, here is approximately 23 2x6. These are 9 feet long, so these are studs for my first floor. And as you can see, for the most part, they are fairly straight, and there's a process to me getting those as straight as possible. I mean, there's a few spots where there's a little bit of crook here and there, but I've got most of them out, most of the crooks out. Let me just grab one here. You can see they have the edges rounded, so there's no more sharp edge on them. I'm finding that my 2x4s were really sharp and cutting even the plastic tarping if you're not careful. And so I will show you how I go about this process of getting these 2x6 coming to what I think is at least a number one, number two quality. So I'll put the price of what these are running right now a piece down in the video, embedded in the video. You'll be able to see it at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, I'm going to give you a kind of an overview from start to finish of what this is like. So I've set up my chop saw. That's to cut them to length. Of course, you've seen my setup with my DeWalt planer. And so the very first procedure that we need to do is we need to get these rough 2x6, because that's what they started out looking like. Very rough looking 2x6, and get them into that finished form. And so I'm going to bring over about 12 of these, and we're going to run them through. Okay, I've got my 12 over here ready to go. And so now we just need to crank this generator up. See if we can't get some power. One moment. Ear protection on. I'm taking about a 32nd to a 16th each time, and I'm always flipping. Every time I put it through, once I go through one side, I flip it over and I keep flipping it back and forth, and that gives you a nice straight flat surface. And so I'll come back. I'm going to run all these 12 through. I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, the next step, once I've got these sized to 1 3/4, I take my 6-foot level, and any of the 2x6 that are really crooked or got a crook to them, what I do, as you can see here, I mark them with a line. So that's going to help a little bit later when I feed them through the planer to get the edges. Now, one of the things you have to be careful when you're doing this is to make sure you don't take too much off the actual piece, so you don't have enough left at the end. So this one is down to about 5.5. I like these to be closer to 5 5/8, but I will try to get this as close as possible. So this one is closer to 5 5/8 on this end. This is going to help later. Like I said, when we run them through the planer, it'll give you a nice straight edge. Now, if a piece is straight, when you look down at this one, it's fairly straight, even though it's got a little bit of a warp to it. So I'm not going to touch it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my skill saw and just trim these edges off. See if I can do this. Just use a little cordless here. The last step here is I just quickly take my planer, make sure I'm plugged in, just kind of smooth it up a bit. So that's the next step, and now I have a fairly straight piece down across there to work with. At least it's tolerable. And I'll come back and show you the next step. Okay, so now we've got all 12 sized down to 1 3/4. I've straightened any of the ends, the crooked ones. So now I'm going to put them on their edge and run them through to get the height of approximately 5 3/4, 5 11/16. And so this, when I run 2 or 3 at a time, this will actually allow me to get that perfect sizing, plus it gives me a nice smooth edge. Okay, at about 5 or 6 passes, what I end up with is nice straight pieces that are very tight. So you know the pieces are going to be straight. Now obviously you could do this with a table saw. Set your fence on the table saw and do that. The only problem with that is that you still got that saw edge. Now for rough framing and stuff, that's perfectly fine for some. I've still got another step, and I'll show you why I like doing it this way. I like that nice smooth edge, but I'll come back to you. Okay, the last step of the shaping, that is, there's one more step after this, and that is rounding the edges. So what I do, I'll show you here. That. Okay, the last step is to cut to length. So I'm just going to use a chop saw for that. Okay, I've now completed those 12. Other than that second one in that had a little bit of a wampus in it, pretty much everything came out nice. I mean, overall, it takes about 2 hours. Now I'm videotaping at the same time, so I can do about 6 an hour. You may say, well, that takes quite a bit of time. That's true, but I'll give you the price of those down below. I'm guessing they're at least $12 to $15 a piece. So if they're 12, you do the math, $72 for just 6 of them. So you can put sweat equity into your stuff. Now obviously I had to cut it down and mill it, but the finished product is what we're going for. And so I've done today, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 35, 36 2 by 6. Now I only worked about a half a day, so again, you've got quite a bit of value right there, and they're actually better than the stuff you get in the building center, because you'll see here these are actually 1 3/4 in thickness, 1 11/16. and so you get extra thickness, and I take extra time to make sure that they're straight. A lot of times you pull the stuff out of the material at one of the box stores, and you've got stuff you have to pick through. Most of those I could use those one way or the other. There might be the odd one maybe there in the middle that I'd have to cut and use as cripples or something like that, or shorter jack studs. For the most of the part, I could take any of those and run them right in the wall, and they're nice and straight. Now, one last thing before I sign off. What I'm using as far as for routing that, it only takes me less than a minute to do one of these, and you may say, well, why go through the bother? But I tell you, those are really sharp edges if you don't. And I've given myself pretty good scrapes with them already when they're not rounded over. So all I'm using is just a 1/4 inch rounding bit. Now the best ones are the ones that have the ball bearing on them. You can see this one if I can zero in. Here, I'll pull this up. The ones with the ball bearings are the best. Like I said, this is just a straight rounding over bit, and I only set it just enough to round and catch the edge. So you don't have to do a full round. You just need to knock the edge off of that. You can see there, and that's even a little bit more than probably what they do from the building center. But that's my project for today. I got to do some cleanup here, but I appreciate you joining me, and I'll try to keep you apprised of what's going on as far as the progress. But I've got about another 16, I've got about another 22 9-foot 2x6 that I have to run through yet. Obviously I won't do that tonight. I might run through a few more before I go home, but by the time I'm done, and like I said, I've only been milling I haven't milled everything yet, that's for sure. I've got a lot of trees that still come down. Probably do it later this fall after I get my outbuilding done. But I should have enough 2x6 and 2x4 to frame my house, and so all of this is money in the bank. It's money you don't have to obviously pay taxes on and whatnot, because you're putting it back into your house. It's sweat equity, and if you have to go to the box store, you're paying taxes on it and transportation, all that. So at the end of the day, it's money saved, money in the pocket. And so, as always, I really appreciate you joining me and being with me today. And until next time, you have a great day. And if you would, please like and subscribe.